reason that you were silenced?
Every member of my caucus knew that the reason why I was silenced by the speaker yesterday was...
But we begin tonight with a weird trend that we've noticed coming out of MAGA Republican world. This is a party, after all, whose base is overwhelmingly the same demographic that gets its news from Fox. So let's just say not super diverse. But since Trump came along in 2016, they keep insisting that because of him, Republicanism is booming among black people, despite there being no evidence of that. And as Donald Trump's troubles have gotten more intense, Republicans are leaning into a new twist on this narrative, namely that Trump being an accused felon has broadened his appeal with black voters.
I think this is endearing, especially many black men, to President Trump.
As one black lady I spoke with earlier today here in New Orleans said, Trump's a gangster. And that means he has cred among a new block of voters that perhaps have never given him a serious look, and now they're looking again.
Black Americans throughout our history have felt unfairly victimized by the system. Historically, there's some truth to that. The mugshot unintentionally created a bond between Donald Trump and black Americans. Over the weekend, with the help of mugshot merchandise, the Trump campaign raked in over $7 million. Today, my garbage man told me he's buying mugshot T-shirts for everyone he knows this Christmas.
Oh, bless your heart. Good to know, Jesse Waters, that some of your best garbage men are black. I mean, come on, y'all. Y'all don't really know any black people, do you? None, right? None. I figured. Waters went on to claim, to further prove his genius point, that a new mural is on display in the inner city in Atlanta celebrating Trump and paying homage to the mugshot. Except that the mural by artist Chris Veal, who's white, by the way, is not on display in the inner city, but rather on the lovely Atlanta Beltline, East Side Trail, where you're much more likely to find a jogger or a latte drinker than the boys in the hood. The mural also says, as a new acronym for MAGA, and I am quoting with apologies to the saints out there, MAGA, my ass got arrested. Note to Jesse and friends at Fox, all of Atlanta is not, in fact, the inner city, nor is every place where black people live. Black people literally live in the suburbs. They do. And the idea that black voters will switch to Trump because of his arrest and mugshot is so amazingly racist, I don't even know where to begin. But this wild narrative is happening at the same time MAGA governors are banning black history with the help of the modern-day version of the Daughters of the Confederacy, Moms for Liberty, while MAGA media world is literally co-opting the very injustices against black people in the Jim Crow South that they are making illegal to teach and grafting that history onto themselves and Donald Trump, making themselves and Trump the real victims of discrimination and the criminal justice system. Another example, in a lame attempt to delay Trump's federal case to 2026, his attorney cited Powell versus Alabama. That's the landmark 1932 Supreme Court decision that overturned the convictions of the Scottsboro boys. 9 black teenagers and young men who were falsely accused of raping 2 white women after they got into a scuffle with white teens on a train car. That is the case, by the way, that led blues singer Leadbelly to coin the term "stay woke," meaning, watch out, black people. If you come down south, there's racists down here. You really can't make this up. That's the origin of woke. The Supreme Court in that landmark case noted that a defendant who is charged with a serious crime must not be stripped of his right to have sufficient time to advise with counsel and prepare his defense, which those young black guys with barely any legal counsel didn't have. Fast forward to today, and the highly paid legal team representing super rich former President of the United States, Donald Trump, is equating his alleged crimes, trying to steal an election by scapegoating black voters and poll workers, to a group of black teenagers who were rushed to trial and sentenced to death by an all-white jury without a shred of evidence against them. That comparison is so ridiculously offensive, it could only have come from, well, Trump, who's trying to steal the veil of black oppression and drape it over himself like a Superman cape. And he isn't alone. Conservatives who are banning black history are also pulling the same steel. They are seeking to co-opt the history of oppression, particularly as meted out to black Americans, and apply it to rich, white, straight Christian men. It's literally they who are oppressed. It's a coordinated effort. The foundation of all lives matter, the great replacement theory and book banning in Florida, Arkansas, and other red states. The whole idea that white Christian Americans are under siege in school curricula and kids' sports and college admissions. When Rudy Huxtable gives out business grants everywhere. Forget critical race theory. It's critical Trump theory now. And it doesn't stop with just co-opting black oppression. No, they are trying it with hip-hop culture, too. Remember back in the 1990s and early aughts, it was a normal thing for rappers to name-check Trump as a symbol for wealth and power. Nelly, Young Jock, and, of course, Kanye, who later, as the MAGA hat-wearing Ye, would be used by Trump to convince black voters that he wasn't racist. Trump in the Oval Office even pardoned Kodak Black and Lil Wayne. See, he's on your side, blacks. The irony, of course, is that his hip-hop avatar was based on a media-constructed lie, like Cribs and The Apprentice. Trump was never a billionaire. He wasn't a real estate king either. He just inherited a lot of money, lost it, declared bankruptcy 5 times, and still got bank loans because he made himself famous. And his track record for racism goes back to the 1970s. So in that sense, he was doing what some rappers do, playing a role. And Trump's electoral strategy to win over black voters, or at least pretend to make white voters feel better about him, failed. But now it's a legal strategy, too. He's even hired lawyers who defend rappers in court while yelling, defund the police. It's like they finally understand that systemic racism is real and systemic oppression is real. It just isn't real for anybody but Trump. Today, the Tennessee legislature's special session on guns, which was called at the governor's request following a horrific mass shooting at an elementary school, adjourned without any meaningful gun reform. As the State House adjourned, chaos erupted in the gallery, with protesters chanting for Republican House Speaker Cameron Sexton to resign. Now, you can see Representatives Justin Jones and Justin Pearson protesting on the floor as well. You'll recall that they are the 2 black representatives expelled in April for protesting gun reform and who recently won their seats back. Moments later, a scuffle appeared to break out between the Speaker and Pearson. This comes after Representative Jones was officially silenced yesterday for talking out of order, bringing up mental health during a discussion of a bill allowing more law enforcement in schools. Jones had announced earlier in the day that he wanted to propose a vote of no confidence against the Speaker. Representative Justin Jones joins me now. There's so much to unpack here, Representative Jones, but let's start at the end, this scuffle. Because you all were expelled for having a megaphone on the House floor. The Speaker seemed, to my eyes, to maybe have kind of assaulted Representative Pearson. You could see him shove him. Is that not an offense that can lead to a vote of expulsion?
Well, Joy, today is a very sad day for democracy in Tennessee, and all I can say is that the House is out of order under the leadership of Speaker Cameron Sexton. That it's a very sad day that we adjourn without allowing members to speak, that we're going to talk about what happened after, but what led to this point was that the Republicans immediately ended session without passing any meaningful gun legislation. They shut down any conversation, any debate, even allowing us to do a moment of silence for UNC, and immediately try to get out of session because they're afraid of public pressure. And so all session, Cameron Sexton has pushed mothers of Covenant and mothers who've been impacted by gun violence and refused to hear the cries of the people of Tennessee, asking for us to protect kids and not guns.
And so you were silenced because you, and I saw the tape of it, you were talking about mental health as part of the legislation that you were pushing, right? Is that the reason you were silenced again?
I was saying that my district is asking for more funding for mental health and counselors in schools to pay our teachers better, not for more police officers in schools. And for that, the Speaker said I was speaking off topic and I was silenced for the remainder of session. And if I was ruled out of order today, the Speaker had threatened that I would be silenced for up to 3 days, and then the next offense would be indefinitely. And so we still see Cameron Sexton, the Speaker of the House, acting as an authoritarian and silencing members, particularly the 2 youngest black members, from speaking because he's so afraid to have a real conversation about guns to protect protect our children in Tennessee because he's so beholden to the NRA and the Tennessee Farms Association.
You had released a letter stipulating that you wanted a vote. You want a vote of no confidence in Speaker Sexton, and I will just read some of it. It's for misrepresenting his residency. He doesn't live where he says he lives, where he's representing, defrauding Tennessee taxpayers and wasting taxpayer money and other things. Talk about that, and do you think that is the real reason that you were silenced?
Every member of my caucus knew that the reason why I was silenced by the Speaker yesterday was because I was going to motion for a vote of no confidence in the leadership of Speaker Cameron Sexton, which is why when he silenced me, every Democrat in our caucus walked out of the chamber and said this is a charade, a facade of democracy. The Speaker was so afraid to have this vote of no confidence because he knows that he's leading Tennessee on the path of failure, humiliation, and authoritarianism. He is a disgrace as Speaker. He is somebody who does not deserve to be in the speakership any longer. And it is sad that he doesn't even live in his district. The people across will deserve someone who actually lives in their district representing them instead of this wannabe dictator, Cameron Sexton.
Where does this vote, this push for a vote, no confidence vote go from here?
I will bring it back up in January, the first day of session. He ended session today. I sought to be recognized. I raised my hand. I said, will it be appropriate to make a motion of no confidence in the Speaker? He immediately called on his Republican flunky to make a motion to adjourn. And so we're not coming back until January, Joy. They're so cowardice that the Speaker won't even speak to the people. He won't speak to the mothers of Covenant who had their children terrorized, and some of them lost their children because of a mass shooter. And he won't allow members to speak. He is not someone who is courageous. He's someone who is a very small personality, who's very fragile in his power. And if he was confident in his speakership, he would allow me to make a motion of no confidence in his leadership. But he refused to because he was afraid, because he knows that even his own Republican members are tired of his foolishness here in Tennessee.
And we also know that he removed mothers who were just holding signs quietly, as you had said that he would, or was planning to, and let people have guns in the hearing rooms. Where stands your committees? The last time you were on, you had been denied being restored to your committees. Eric Holder is representing you. Where stands that?
We're still waiting to hear back if I'll be restored to my committees for the regular session. Cameron likes to play, the Speaker likes to play games of manipulation with his power, but he knows that whether he gives me my committee assignments or not, I will speak for the District 52 constituents who sent me here overwhelmingly to be a bold voice for change, to protect kids and not guns, to ban assault weapons, to ban high-capacity magazines, to fight for a community that is at peace with itself. And so I'll continue to be a voice for my district, and Cameron Sexton's time is limited as Speaker, and we know that his power is fading.
I will reiterate our offer to Cameron Sexton to come on this show and defend what does seem to be the end of democracy in the state of Tennessee, at least as regards the House, the State House. Tennessee State Representative Justin Jones, thank you very much, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
I hope this will increase your knowledge.
The American gun violence epidemic continues unabated. Yesterday, as the new school year began at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, students were forced to jump out of windows as the school went into lockdown after an armed gunman murdered an associate professor. Once again, America's run, hide, fight generation had to run and hide. This latest senseless act of violence comes just a few hours after we learned more about the white supremacist killer from Jacksonville, Florida. What we know is that he was asked to leave Edward Waters University, Florida's oldest historically black university, because he refused to identify himself. The shooter was seen putting on a bullet-resistant vest and a mask before he left campus and headed to the Dollar General store. What we didn't know was that just before he went to EWU, the shooter had scoped out another Dollar General earlier in the day.
It looks like he wanted to take action at the Family Dollar. That's what it looks like. And he did not, because I think he got impatient and got tired of waiting.
The sheriff said that they are continuing to comb through the shooter's manifesto, but reiterated that it was his disgusting ideology of hate that led him to gun down Angela Michelle Carr, A.J. Laguerre Jr., and Gerald Deshaun Gallion in cold blood. Here are A.J.'s brothers yesterday.
Hate could be taught. Love could be taught too.
Guy just went to work, not even 30 minutes later, gunned down, just for working, just for being black. It's unfair.
Joining me now is the mayor of Jacksonville, Florida, Donna Deegan. Mayor Deegan, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on your election. You're starting your terms in a rough way. How is the community handling this nightmare?
Well, I got to tell you, Joy, it's the worst possible way to start. It is, we're all just in grief. I would like to say we're in shock, but it's hard to be shocked anymore. This community has been through this sort of violence again and again, and it's really just too much. We have got to start sending a message loud and clear that we just simply will not accept this kind of hate, especially in our community. I ran on a message of unity, but unity has to come with truth. And I think that it's going to be very, very important for us to all face some hard truths and to really speak to each other, look at each other. And if we're ever going to get to each other's humanity, we got a long way to go.
State Representative Nixon yesterday, who represents this area, was on with us, and she said that Mayor DeSantis has blood on his hands. She blamed his rhetoric, his policies, his anti-blackness, and the way that he's conducted himself as governor for setting the stage and creating the atmosphere that produced an event like this. What do you say to that?
Well, Representative Nixon has been right there in the thick of it. You know, there are so many times that she has tried to gain resources for this community, tried to face some of these issues. And as you know, that has not been successful under this governor. So she's had a lot of frustration. I don't pretend to know what is in the governor's heart. I simply know that what we're facing here in Jacksonville with this hate against the Black community, every step that we take in the wrong direction is a step that takes us closer to the next incident. And we simply cannot have it anymore, Joy. We've got to start facing the reality that we have hate in this state that we need to address and that we need to loudly and clearly say is not acceptable.
Let me play the reception that the governor got when he did what a lot of people believe was simply a photo op, showing up at a vigil for the Jacksonville dead.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is here. We're going to ask the governor if he will come now and remarks.
I want to ask you just a couple of questions about this governor's response here. When this initially happened, he said that he called the sheriff. He did not say that he called you. You are the mayor. Did he call you, and how soon after he called the sheriff did he call you?
I don't know when he called the sheriff. He called me a couple of hours before that vigil that you just saw and told me he was going to be sending some money for securing Edward Waters University. We had a short conversation. I thanked him for providing that help for Edward Waters and thanked him for his call.
I think one of the reasons why he got that kind of reception is he started off by using the term monkey it up regarding his first opponent, his African-American opponent. And it's kind of degraded from there, saying Black history had no inherent value, banning DEI, attacking Black history, saying Black people benefited from slavery. I could go on. Do you understand why he got those boos when he showed up in the Black community?
Well, I do, and I dare say he may have expected to have that reception. But I will say that I'm personally glad that he was there, because I think it's important that he come face to face with that pain. There was a lot of grief and is a lot of grief in that community, and he needs to see that. And as I said, I'm sure Edward Waters University is grateful to have the money for security, but we have to go so far beyond that. We were celebrating the anniversary of Axe Handle Saturday on the Sunday that we were there for that vigil. And it just feels like these days we're moving backwards. It feels as if we're just using different axe handles, Joy. And we've got to acknowledge that. And I think the governor being there to see that pain and to see that response, I'm hopeful that has an impact on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you can even teach Axe Handle Saturday in Florida schools right now, but I'll leave that for now. Let's talk about this hurricane that is bearing down on Florida. Is it expected to touch down in Jacksonville? Is Jacksonville going to face these storms?
Well, we've seen the track move further and further west throughout the day. So what we are expecting is tropical storm force conditions here. The worst of it's going to be further south toward Lake City and Madison. So we're hunkering hunkering down. Basically, we've got our emergency crews out. We're under a state of emergency, and we're just asking folks to stay home. There may be some isolated flooding and isolated tornadoes and a lot of wind, so a lot of trees down. But it looks like we are, at the very least, going to dodge the worst of that.
Yeah, I lived in